What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Edmonton. We have Brandon Moreno going against Amir Albazi, and yeah, very interesting card. We have a good fight night card coming up, 14 fights on it, a lot of spots to pick from, and yeah, some spots sticking out for sure. It's a very interesting betting card, I think, because there's a lot of very, very closely lined fights. The biggest favorite on the card is Youssef Zalal. We also have Mike Malott up there as well. But outside of that, just a lot of competitively lined fights. So you're going to break it all down, as always, from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you do want a further, more in-depth breakdown on why I'm picking who, I did do a full card breakdown and prediction video earlier in the week. But yeah, looking to hopefully come out with a win here. Slight win last week. Feeling good. Feeling good this week. There's some spots sticking out. But I also want to, at the same time, kind of tread lightly, betting against some of these Canadian fighters. Of course, as we know, the judging these last couple of months, it seems like, has been just awful. I mean, we see it every week. We see it every single week. The judges, they're crooked, they're corrupt, and the fact that we are in Edmonton, we are in Canada, just want to kind of tread lightly going against some of these guys, even though I'm picking against a lot of Canadians. So we're going to kick it off with the first fight on the card, and we have Youssef Zalal going against Jack Shore. We got Zalal minus 315. Jack Shore is plus 265. Money is pouring in on Youssef Zalal. And yeah, I guess people are finally, realizing how good Zalal is. I mean, this is a guy that typically is an underdog in the UFC. He was even an underdog against Billy Quarantillo in his return, and prior to that, he was an underdog in a lot of these fights. But yeah, I think we are now seeing a new and improved version of Zalal. This is a guy that I've always said it, like outside the UFC, he looks like an absolute killer, has a 100% finish rate, but inside the UFC was a guy that went to a ton of decisions, a ton of close fights. But I think we're seeing a reinvented Youssef Zalal. He's got 2 finish wins in a row. With that said, though, I think that finish streak probably comes to an end, but I'll still pick him here. But man, minus 315. I mean, Zalal fights, more often than not, they are close outside of the Billy Q fight and Jarno Aarons, who's not that great. There are a lot of close Youssef Zalal fights, and I think this one could play out closer than line does indicate, but I like Zalal striking more. I think the grappling can kind of cancel each other out. So give me Zalal to just do better work across 15 minutes. Nothing sticking out from a betting perspective. I would lean decision, but Jack Shore has been finishing both of his losses, which is something to mention. It's a pass for me on the first fight of the card, but I like Zalal to win. Next, we have Jamie Lynn Horth going against Ivana Petrovic. Same thing. I like Horth to win. I don't like the line. I mean, I think a lot can probably go wrong laying minus 220 on Jamie Lynn Horth, but I do think she's going to be the stronger fighter, more physical. I think she can bully Petrovic a little bit against the cage. I think Petrovic, for her to win this fight, she's going to need takedowns in at least 2 out of the 3 rounds, and I'm not convinced she's able to do that. We even saw Luana Carolina, take her down. We saw reverse her at one point. So I think Jamie Lynn Horth in that strength, and the striking especially, I think Jamie Lynn Horth is just going to have a massive striking advantage. So I like Horth to win. Minus 220, I just can't get there. I really can't. And then her decision prop is minus 125. I can't get that either. So, pass it on that one as well. So I do have a bet in this next fight. It is Cody Gibson going against Chad Anheliger. We have Cody Gibson minus 185, Chad Anheliger plus 160. I'm very annoyed. I mean, I looked into this fight like a while ago, and I saw Gibson at like minus 130-ish, and I was going to bet him there. I literally waited like a couple hours, and I look back, and he's like minus 170, minus 180. Like somebody dropped a bomb on him at like minus 130, and it's kind of stayed around the minus 170, minus 185 range all week. And what I like in this spot is I do like Cody Gibson to win by submission. But what's interesting is the submission prop for Cody Gibson on some books is like plus 400, plus 350 even, but the fight ends by submission is plus 420. You might as well bet the fight ends by submission, just because you look at these guys and their losses, 10 combined losses by submission, and both guys have subs. We see that Cody Gibson's finished 25% of his wins by submission, even Anheliger's finished 23% of his wins by submission. So I like Gibson to get that sub. I think Anheliger's takedown defense is no good. He's been submitted 6 times, but the fight ends by sub is pretty much the same price. So fight ends by sub, plus 420 for a half a unit, but I'm fully expecting Cody Gibson to implement the wrestling. I think submission opportunities are going to be there. If Jose Johnson's, putting into bad spots, I think Cody Gibson can as well. Moving on, we got Surrey City going against Garrett Armfield. So here is the struggle for me this week. There are 3 fights on this card where I like the underdog, but they're going against Canadians, and they're going to be close fights. So it's like, the fact, I don't really want to get involved too much. So I like Armfield to win, but the fact of the matter is it's a very close fight. Sidey's the hometown guy. We're in Canada. It's going to decision. It's going to come into the hands of the crooked, corrupt judges. Armfield was plus 140 at one point, so I feel like a lot of money has came in on Armfield. I looked at him at plus 140. He's now plus 110 at this point. I don't have as much interest, but I'll pick him to win. But yeah, I think it's a very close fight. I think Armfield's going to have a lot of success early. The thing I don't like about Armfield, though, is he does slow down as the fight goes on in every single fight, about 7.5 minutes in. He's one of those guys that can fight through fatigue a little bit, but he has been broken before. So I expect it to be, Armfield having success early, Sidey having success late, split decision, written all over it. I would want to be on the plus money, but at the same time, I feel like, these judges, it's hard to want to get involved against a Canadian in Canada. So it's a pass for me, but if you got in an Armfield plus 140, I think you're going to like that bet up until the judges get involved, and then you're not going to be too happy, but we'll see. Next, we got Rodrigo Nascimento going against Alexander Romanov. So this is a fight where I needed to see the weigh-ins. My plan was, I was going to bet Nascimento if Alexander Romanov showed up and looked just completely awful, if he looked in hilariously bad shape like he did before the Volkov fight. Romanov weighed in at 261, and he looked, of course, not in great shape, but he did not look in hilariously bad shape. So he looked in bad shape, but not hilariously bad. So at that point, it showed me that he did train at least a little bit for this fight, so I'm probably just going to pass. I think Romanov round one makes some sense. It's like plus 400. But yeah, this could get sloppy. This could get greasy. I think it's a picking for a reason. I really want nothing to do with this fight. I swear, if Romanov showed up just looking awful, up there on the scale, I would have bet Nascimento, but he looked like he did put in some type of effort, and that might be enough to win here. So I'm going to pass on this one. It's just a mess of a fight. Next, we got Charles Jourdain going against Victor Henry. So just like the Sidey Armfield fight, it's like, I think this fight's super close. I think this fight's going to decision, and you're getting plus money on Victor Henry at plus 120. Jourdain's coming down to bantamweight for the first time, so I expect this to be a split decision type fight. I would much rather want to be on the plus money here, but at the end of the day, who are these crooked, corrupt judges going to give it to? The Canadian or Victor Henry? It's kind of my concern, kind of is what is keeping me off. I do like the plus 3.5 point spread, because even if they do rob Henry, or if it's a close fight, they give it to Jourdain, I think Henry can at the very least win a round. So plus 3.5 makes a lot of sense for Victor Henry as well. And I do have a plus 3.5 parlay that I'll share at the end as well. But yeah, it's Henry or pass, but just the judges honestly terrify me, and they should terrify you. They've been awful. They've been absolutely awful lately, but Henry's the side for me. Next, we got Jasudavicius going against Ariana Lipsky. Yeah, so I was going to pass here, and the more I think about this fight, so I've lost a lot of money fading Ariana Lipsky her last several fights. I really have, because you watch the tape and it's like, oh my gosh, she's getting completely dominated on the mat by Antonina Shevchenko. Like that shouldn't happen. Oh my gosh, she's getting TKO'd by Montana De La Rosa, giving De La Rosa her first knockout win ever. Like that shouldn't happen. Like her ground game is just terrible. With that said, though, I think she's made a ton of improvements with the takedown defense. But also, with that said, it's like, who's trying to take her down? Casey O'Neill, J.J. Aldrich. Who else? I mean, these just aren't great. Even Melissa Gatto, not the best wrestler. So yes, she's stuffing takedowns and looking great. But against who? Jasudavicius is a much better wrestler than J.J. Aldrich and Melissa Gatto. So yeah, I kind of have a feeling Jasudavicius gets on top here. And if she does, like, I went back and watched some of those Lipsky fights. Like, it's like she doesn't like getting hit. She doesn't like taking damage. Like, she'll eat a couple shots on the ground and then turtle up. She'll cover up, and that's not a good look to the refs, right? So, Jasmine by KO, Jasmine 2-3. These numbers are getting pounded. I am very upset. I saw these numbers like a day or so ago, and they were just like astronomical. I'm talking like 45-1, something like that for round 3, like 33-1 in round 2. So they have gotten hit, but I think they've gotten hit for a good reason. So I got in on the KO 2-3, KO 2 plus 2,500 for 0.2 units, and then KO 3 plus 3,300 for 0.2 units. I actually had Jasmine KO 2-3 against Priscilla catch a beating in their fight, and that should have cashed. It should have cashed. She did TKO Priscilla Cachoeira multiple times, but the ref didn't stop it. It was one of the most disgusting bad beats I had a ton of bad beats, but one of the most disgusting bad beats I've ever had. And even then, it was like Jasmine KO 2 was like plus 2,000, Jasmine KO 3 was plus 3,000. Here we're getting better numbers. And you see it right there. Lipsky's been knocked out 4 times, including knockout losses against Antonina Shevchenko and Montana De La Rose. Even Priscilla Cachoeira knocked her out. Like, it's not good. So at those numbers, I'm willing to lose 0.4 units. I think it is more than likely a Jasmine by decision, but taking a shot at these big prices, and it looks like other people are as well, because these numbers are getting smacked. Moving on. We got Pedro Munhoz going against Ayman Zahabi. We got Zahabi looks like Zahabi now is the favorite. He's minus 145, and then Munhoz is now the underdog. He's like plus 125. Just like the Jourdain Henry fight, just like the Sidey Armfield fight. I think Munhoz is super live here, but I think it's going to be a close fight. I mean, who's laying minus 145 on Ayman Zahabi? Like, this guy does nothing in his fights. He literally does nothing. He throws absolutely nothing. He's just very defensively sound. And that's great, but he just does nothing in his fights. But I mean, it's also a big step down in competition for Pedro Munhoz. Like, if Munhoz loses to Zahabi, it's his worst loss in a very, very long time. So Munhoz is absolutely the side. I like the plus 3.5, because even if it is close, even if they do give it to Zahabi, Munhoz should be able to, at the very least, win a round here. I think it's, at the very least, it's a very, very competitive 50-50 fight. Value on the dog, but let's see what the crooked, corrupt judges think here. They probably give it to the Canadian, which would be annoying. That's kind of why I do like that plus 3.5, but I would not be laying chalk on Ayman Zahabi ever. Moving on, we have Mike Malott going against Trevin Giles. So, as we know, there's been a serious lack of violence lately, and since there's been a serious lack of violence, we're going to start getting some discounts on some violence props. And the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 200. It shouldn't be minus 200. It should be minus 350, minus 400. I mean, this is a Mike Malott fight. We can take a look at it right here. Mike Malott has a 100% finish rate in his wins. Mike Malott has a 100% finish rate in his losses. These guys have been finished in all 8 of their losses. Neither guy has lost a decision. Everything in this fight screams just violence. Trevin Giles, he can be knocked out. Trevin Giles, he can be subbed. Mike Malott, he can be knocked out. So yeah, I like the fight. It doesn't go to decision. Minus 200, I put 2 units on it. A year ago, that would have been a max bet, but with the non-violence nature of the UFC right now, 2 units is fine. And then I also put a half unit on the fight ends by submission at plus 205, just basically because it's about the same price as the Malott sub. I think it's like 15 cents off, something like that. So fight ends by sub, plus 205 for a half unit. I think it is Mike Malott getting the submission. I think he's going to take the path to least resistance. If he does go out there and strike with Giles for 15 minutes, he will not be looking minus 265. So I think it takes the fight down to the mat, gets a sub. Give me the fight ends by sub, plus 205 for a half unit. All right, moving on, we got Marc-Andre Barriault going against Dustin Stoltzfus. I like Barriault here quite a bit, and here's how I'm kind of playing Barriault. I feel like this could look a little bit like the Julian Marquez fight, where Barriault takes a little bit to get going and kind of turns it on, more and more as the fight goes on, and maybe getting Stoltzfus out of there the second and third round. So I like the Marc-Andre Barriault. They have the same game parlays on DraftKings, BetRivers 365 as well, where you could do the money line and then the over 1.5, and that's what I'm doing here. I have Marc-Andre Barriault and the over 1.5, 1.5 units at plus 100. I don't know. I would say I think the most likely scenario is that decision, but I'm not so sure. Like Stoltzfus, he's very hittable. He's coming off a knockout loss. I don't think he has the best durability, and I can just see him, like Barriault, really putting it on Stoltzfus round 2, round 3, like in that Marquez fight. So I like Barriault late here. I like the Barriault money line and the over 1.5 combination. But what I also like is the 2-3 combination by knockout for Barriault, plus 400 for a half a unit. I think those KO 2-3 props for Barriault are going to be very live. I think it's going to be competitive early, but as the fight goes on, I think he's going to really put it on him and potentially get him out of there late. So, Barriault money line in the over 1.5. Same game parlay, 1.5 units, plus 100, and then the KO 2-3, half a unit, plus 400. Looking for Barriault to get a late finish here. Moving on, we got Kyle Machado going against Brenton Ribeiro. Worst fight on the card, and it's on the main card for some reason. I'm going to pick Machado, but yeah, zero confidence. I don't think either of these guys are that great. Machado is cutting down to light heavyweight. He did look good on the scale. Ribeiro is dangerous, but for about 5 minutes, it's just a mess of a fight. I like Machado, but not by much. Jonathan Deniz, Derek Lewis. I mean, it's a Derek Lewis fight, right? It's like he's going to be at a skill deficit, but does that matter? No, it does not. Nothing really sticking. I mean, I guess maybe like the over 1.5, but it's just such a sweat like this, and that can crash and burn just so easily. So it would be the over 1.5 if anything, but I'm not too excited about that. One thing I'll mention is Derek Lewis did not show up to ceremonial weigh-ins. I'm not sure why, but maybe, I don't know if the fight's like in danger of being called off or what, but I'm not touching this fight either. So yeah, staying away from the Deniz Lewis fight as well. Next, we got Aaron Blanchfield going against Rose Namajunas. I took the dog shot on Rose 1 unit at plus 114. I feel like it's a really winnable matchup for her. I mean, I just don't rate Blanchfield's wrestling at all. I don't rate her striking at all. I feel like on the feet, it's pretty much one-way traffic. And if Blanchfield's not able to get takedowns in at least 3 out of the 5 rounds, like I don't see how she wins this fight. Blanchfield, just the grappling's there, the pressure, the cardio. She does a lot of great things. Just the wrestling, it's not there. Like, she hasn't got a takedown in a while. She was not able to take down Fiorot. Wasn't able to take down Santos, wasn't able to take down JJ Aldrich, and maybe she can take down Rose, but it's like, is she holding down Rose? I'm not so sure. And some people think like Blanchfield's going to take her down and sub her. Like, probably not. I mean, Rose is a really good grappler in her own right. So yeah, I just think Rose has a lot of avenues, and she's plus money. 1 unit plus 114 for me. And then we got the main event. Brandon Moreno going against Amir Albazi. We got Moreno minus 175 now. Albazi plus 150. I have 1.6 units on Brandon Moreno at minus 160. I like this spot for him. I'm not too impressed with Albazi and what he's done thus far in the UFC. His best win is against Kai Kara-France in a fight where he most definitely lost. I mean, the fight, honestly, it wasn't really even that close. I think it was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. Other than that, his best win is Alessandro Costa, where Costa took the fight on very, very, very short notice, like the week of the fight. And then you look at his other wins, it's like Malcolm Gordon, just not great wins. Augustin Magulov. So if he beats Brandon Moreno, it's going to be his best win by a mile, in my opinion. Moreno, I think he has great scrambling ability. He's super tough. He has cardio. He has good volume. I think he's going to be a higher volume striker. I think for Albazi to win this fight, he's going to have to take down and control Moreno, and nobody really does that. Nobody really takes down and controls Moreno. Like Pantoja even struggled to do it. He did it a little bit, but not much. And then even like Brandon Royval wasn't able to take down and hold down Moreno. Just very hard to take down and hold. If Figueiredo wasn't able to. So yeah, I think Albazi is going to struggle to take down and hold down Moreno. I think this fight is going to take place on the feet for a good portion, and at that point I do favor the striking, the volume of Moreno. So give me Moreno. On top of that, Albazi's coming off of a layoff. He's coming off of a major neck injury, big surgery. I don't like that. So as long as Moreno has a little bit left in the tank, or has some left in the tank, I think it's a very winnable fight. And he should. He's only 30 years old, so you would think that this guy is still he's the younger guy here. He's the younger guy. So yeah, give me Moreno. Probably by decision, but just give me the money line, 1.6 units, minus 160. All right, so recap for UFC Edmonton. We got Moreno money line, 1.6 units, minus 160. Rose Namajunas money line, plus 114 for 1 unit. I'd have a lot more money lines if I wasn't completely sketched out about these judges and going against these Canadians. I think there's a lot of live dogs, but I would just tread lightly with these crooked, corrupt judges. I have the Barriault in the over 1.5 rounds, same game parlay, 1.5 units plus 100. Barriault to win in round 2 or round 3 by KO, half a unit plus 400. I have Malott Giles, fight doesn't go the distance, 2 units minus 200. Malott Giles, fight ends by submission, half a unit plus 205. I have the Cody Gibson Chad Anheliger, fight ends by submission, half a unit plus 420. I have Jasudavicius KO2, 0.2 units plus 2,500. Jasudavicius KO3, 0.2 units plus 3,300. And then I have a point spread parlay where I'm taking 2 fights that I think are going to go the distance, 2 fights that I think are going to be very close, and parlaying up these point spread, the plus 3.5 point spread. So Pedro Munhoz, points handicap plus 3.5, minus 240. And then the Henry plus 3.5 points handicap, minus 205. That comes out to plus 111. I have 2 units on that. So 10 units total, 10 bets. Looking to make some money, for sure. So yeah, guys, best of luck for UFC Edmonton. Enjoy the card. Should be a fun one. Leave a like down, comment as well. And yeah, be on the lookout for best bet going live on fight day as well. So check it out, and good luck for UFC Edmonton. See you guys later.